Welcome to the I Hate Critics movie review podcast. I'm professional film critic Sean Patrick. With me is Jeff.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Jeff, where can people get your art?
JeffLassiter.com is my website. It's got all my relevant links. My Blue Sky is just my name, Jeff Lassiter. So look for me there, follow me there. Um, I still have to do meta stuff for my other job. So I'm still on Instagram at Jeff Lassiter Pop Cult, but I don't post as much there. So.
Sure. Let's see. Let's talk about some of the things that are happening. The first commercials now are dropping for Thunderbolts. I couldn't be less excited for Thunderbolts, honestly. I love Florence Pugh. I'm a big fan of Florence Pugh, but man, if this Captain America movie opens this weekend and it isn't very good, I just really am. It's going to just absolutely destroy any interest I have in Thunderbolts, basically.
Yeah. I I don't know. I mean, it's it's supposed to be kind of like second tier everybody, but I'm not getting the Suicide Squad vibes that I think they want me to.
I'll say that's the problem. I am getting Suicide Squad vibes, and I don't like either of those two
No.
movies. So
Well, I liked the last one. I just,
really,
I think
yeah.
that's what they're going for is, this charming band of rogues. And I kind of like, I don't know, but it could just be, I could be wrong. I hope so, but I don't know.
Yeah, the first trailer is just not very promising. I don't know why people keep casting David Harbour in the same role where he's playing the same guy in everything now. He's just this he's just this guy who makes dumb jokes and everybody makes fun of him and nobody laughs at anything that he does, and then he punches something. Like
You know what it is all women over the age of 30 want to fuck him. And a lot of the men. So I think that's what it is. And
he's got that big bear appeal, is that it?
yep. Yep. He's a bear. Now I want to say this.
Huh.
I do think that Black Widow was a better movie than it was given credit for.
I agree with that. Yeah, I like Black Widow.
And he was good in that. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's just the fact that, because of the fact that Black Widow was kind of forgotten because of COVID and everything. Um, and the fact that it was way misplaced in the chronology of the movies coming out, because of the fact that she was killed in Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
I think that maybe that's why it doesn't get the credit it deserves, and maybe that's why he's just a little extra annoying because he should have been. We should have had a different chronology, maybe. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Or perhaps he's just doing the same exact shtick from that movie in this movie, and they've not evolved the character in any way. Which, based on the trailers, yeah, this character
Yeah.
doesn't have much of. He doesn't have much of an interior life, any type of growth. He just seems like the same exact character, just doing the same exact thing.
It's probably closer to the.
Meanwhile, there was more mentions of Captain America this week during the Super Bowl. They did drop a new commercial as well, and I was surprised. I guess they have to. I guess they're kind of like obligated to mention Eternals, but it was kind of weird to see Eternals be referenced so heavily in this new trailer because you see what happened at the end of Eternals, like shown prominently in Captain America, apparently.
Huh. I guess I missed that. I watched the first part of the Super Bowl until halftime, and then I had to go to bed. So
Hmm. So you missed the best part.
the halftime? No, I didn't. I missed. Or you mean them losing?
No, the halftime show was incredible.
Yeah, I saw that. I went home after that. So
Ah, yeah, Kendrick absolutely killing it. That guy was amazing.
and this like if you like a lot of it's the same people who I didn't like that. It was terrible. I mean, we know why you think it was terrible. Um, But
But what does this need people have to express that they don't like something? Like, what is that about? Like, I'm a critic and I'm supposed to like, I have to like, I get paid to write negative things. I don't go out of my way to go on social media and go, that sucks. Unless it's
but
like,
see,
injustice and like it's a genuine injustice. Like, then I'll say something, but like, oh, well, people are enjoying this thing, but I didn't enjoy it and I need to tell them that I didn't enjoy it.
that's the thing though, is you don't get paid to write negative things. You get paid to write your actual um your perspective on things over the last 30 years of watching and consuming stuff, whereas people automatically, if they don't see, uh, Taylor Swift or Kid Rock or somebody like, I'm not putting those two in the same, I'm just saying white people. Um, if they don't see them, centered, then suddenly it's the worst. And I didn't get it. I couldn't understand it. And yes, the audio mix was terrible. But that being said, I got it. One of the people I was watching with did not. He's like,
Really?
I don't get it. And I'm like, the divided flag, and then everybody falls down, and they're in the shape of swastikas. Come on, it wasn't exactly
You-
subtle. Uh,
yeah.
so I think that the same people who didn't like this or didn't like J Lo, and because, oh, when are we going to get so and so? I even heard people bitching that it wasn't like that Jean Baptiste's Star Spangled Banner wasn't the same as, say, Chris Stapleton or somebody like that. I'm like, I'm sorry. Next year we'll have Carrie Underwood sing everything, and
Uh,
the Village People can come out and do, fuck gay people or something. I don't know. What do you want?
I think you're telling on yourself when you do this stuff. You're just telling on yourself. Either you're going out and telling the world, "Hey, I'm incredibly old," or you're coming out and saying that or you're just saying I'm racist, or both. One or the other. I mean, that's what you're doing
And
when
I
you're angry at something that other people enjoyed. If you know what you could do in this situation is just not watch it. I mean, that's the thing. There were other options. You can flip over to the Puppy Bowl. You
Yeah,
could go get it. You could go talk with your friends. I was talking to my buddy Dave during the show, so I saw it. Like I got a lot of the visual elements. I didn't hear the actual halftime show until I sat down and actually watched it, and then like it didn't really hit me how great it was. But like I was talking to my buddy, like these people could have been doing that. Maybe they don't have friends. I don't know. Is it that they
the,
go do
here's
something
the
else if this isn't for you?
here's the thing though. The loudest people are usually the ones who are hate something, or they don't necessarily hate it. They just want to be included, and they're the same. It's kind of the reason we are where we are as a country, because the loudest voices amplify the biggest bullshit, and because they're the loudest, people who are in quote unquote in charge, because who's in charge anymore, um, capitulate to those people. Uh, it's why, like, say, Target didn't do their Pride merchandise as big last year, because so many people complain. So many people, by like maybe 1,000 people out of how many millions in this country, um, complained loudly
You
on
mean
social media.
you mean they got
And
triggered? Did they get
yes,
triggered?
yes, those are the same people who got triggered by the fact that there were no white people on stage. Like literally, people, I saw people say, "Well, not a single white dancer," and I'm like, "What? Now you want DEI?" But that's the loudest voices are usually the ones at the extremes.
Mhm.
But the louder and stupider are the people who are saying, "I didn't like this halftime show because of this and this and I'm like, you didn't get it. But if it had been Kid Rock and I said I didn't like it, well, buckle up, Buttercup, because that's what we're gonna do now. I got a lot of that this week.
Mhm.
Just reading a couple comments on Facebook, since all those kind of pages are forced on me now. Um, and it's the same with like movies. The ones who hate something so much usually don't hate it because of the art. They hate it because of it doesn't cater to their specific needs. Re Star Wars.
Mhm.
Um, that's it's the loudest people. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, so to speak.
Mhm.
So
And it's it's an interesting way to lead into one of our first movies tonight, which I didn't mention to you, but because I know you don't have Netflix, but I did watch this, so and write about it, so I'm going to mention it.
Mhm.
Kind of pregnant. Amy Schumer is somebody that a lot of people just enjoy hating. They just enjoy saying bad things about her. It's just the thing. And I'm not one of those, but I feel like I need to say that. I feel like I need to tell people, hey, I liked Trainwreck. I've enjoyed her comedy in the past. I understand that some of her jokes may have been stolen. Maybe she's taken things from other people, whatever. I've always liked her as a persona. Her stand up. I liked Trainwreck. I liked I Feel Pretty a little bit. Some of her other movies have been iffy, but I just say that because I don't want people to assume that I'm just being fashionable, because that is a fashionable thing to just say Amy Schumer sucks or she's unfunny or whatever. That is not how I feel. But uh, Kind of Pregnant is a terrible movie. It's a really just genuinely unfunny film, which surprised me because it's her and it's Jillian Bell and some very funny people. Will Forte should be quite a good movie, but the problem is the script that seems to be thrown together from a series of sketch ideas that were not formed into a full story. So the story goes that this woman, Lainey, played by Amy Schumer, is obsessed with being pregnant. Like, just it's her. She since childhood, her and her friend, played by Jillian Bell, have enacted giving birth. Like, this is what they played in the schoolyard, was pretending to give birth like Cabbage Patch Kids. Like, this is their obsession to a point of a fetish, which no other human being has ever enacted. Just there's never a child that's ever actually enacted this in a public. But anyway, it's just weird behavior for the sake of weird behavior. And this carries on to her being a character who grows up to be a teacher, and her friend's a teacher, and she thinks she's going to get married, and then it doesn't happen. They do this really lame joke where her boyfriend, played by Damon Wayans Jr., appears like he's going to propose to her, even pulls out a ring box, and then in the ring box is a key to a hotel room because he wants to propose a threesome with this other woman that he's seeing, which should be a funny joke, but it doesn't land. It doesn't land at all because it feels just so forced and familiar. And then you've got just Amy Schumer just doing shtick. It's like, if do you watch Impractical Jokers? Or have you seen
No,
Impractical Jokers?
no,
The
my
idea there
sister loves
is
it and tried to get me into it, but no.
they send one of their guys into the room and he just enacts a prank on regular
Yeah.
people, and they give him prompts to say something weird. And that's kind of what this feels like. It's kind of like her character, who is supposed to be a character within the universe of this movie, feels like she was just dropped into the scene to just keep doing things that are supposed to be funny. And everybody else is just supposed to react to her, like, just look at her, like, waiting for her to find the funny thing and then continue the scene. That feels like that all throughout. Even Will Forte, who is incredible at this type of, find the joke style humor, he's supposed to be just her straight man while she's just desperately searching for the joke. And I was just baffled watching this whole movie, watching that happen. Jillian Bell, again, is an incredible improv artist. She can find a joke anywhere. She's done that in several roles, like her entire role in the last Jump Street movie with Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill was just that. It was just her like finding the joke and making it very, very funny. But you can't sustain that kind of energy in an entire movie, and this movie just cannot sustain that energy beyond even a single scene. It's bad. Don't watch it. It's terrible.
Very
There.
good.
Any questions?
No, nope. I'm
No.
also I love Trainwreck. I thought that was actually a really good movie. But yeah, I don't hate her, but I feel like she's very unfunny, and sometimes she does the performative leftism kind of thing where I don't think she
Hmm.
really believes it, but I don't know. So I don't follow her as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Um, but I've liked some of her stuff in the past. I just don't. Also, the girl with the lower back tattoo is one of the best book titles I've ever heard. So
Yeah. I there was just this. It seems to have passed for the most part. This scenario where people just found it fashionable to say how much they hated Amy Schumer.
yeah,
And a lot of it was conservatives just looking for a woman to dislike, especially a woman who was outspoken. And I think for her, she had a lot of, she's talked about in her stand up, having a great deal of insecurities about herself and her body. And trying to own those things and take those things back from people, and then becoming a star and having those things, magnified even further. I think it put her in a situation where she desperately wants to be liked. And some of that performative leftism that you're talking about, I think, is her trying to reach out to people who are supposed to be on her side to get them to
Yeah.
be on her side. And I understand that. I feel that in a big way, because I truly get that's my entire Amelia Perez review was that, I think. Nevertheless, we won't get into that again. But um, so I understand her. I feel her. At the same time, this was a terrible movie, and that it was just a real big. I think this is a real big mistake, and hopefully, she finds something that's better suited to her talent in the future.
Hope so.
All right. So, which movie would you like to start with, Jeff?
You just got out of Love Hurts, so let's talk about that first while you're fresh.
Yes, Love Hurts, starring Kiwi Quan as a man who is, supposedly selling real estate, but in reality, he was a stone cold killer, like a hardcore stone cold killer, who was trained to be a killer by his evil brother, who runs some sort of evil organization. The plot is kicked in motion by a character named Rose, played by Ariana DeBose. She's returned to town after having been supposedly dead. Now she's here back and starting trouble and dragging him out of the life that he's created as a real estate agent and back into the life of killing. You've got several very kind of funny characters, who are trying to kill him. Several other supporting characters who find themselves in this very weird situation of finding out about all this violence that they weren't part of and didn't know about before. There are some funny things about this. Some elements of this work. The action is pretty spectacular. I think the movie should have been a little bit funnier. I didn't find
Mhm.
many laughs in this movie, and I was really kind of hoping this movie would be a little bit funnier. It works in fits and starts. Like I said, the action is pretty good. I like Huey Quant a lot, I, but I don't know what exactly Ariana DeBose is doing. I'm sure her character is kind of all over the place for me, and the villains were occasionally funny. Marshawn Lynch is really just just kind of naturally gifted in being funny just for being himself, not so much as acting. But
Yeah.
I like how he gets used in this, and like the Bottoms was really good. I don't know. I wanted to like this more than I do.
Same. First, let me just say that I was, uh, I don't know quite how to say how effusively I wanted to be happy for Ki Kwan because of he's just getting a second chance and is, like, is really just doing the thing and is so grateful for it. I just love to see him succeed. So I think that's maybe why I liked it a little more than I probably would have, because it's not really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on the face of it, I should say.
Right.
Um, on the face of it, this is not something that I would gravitate towards. And if we hadn't done it for the show, I probably wouldn't have seen it when it, until it was streaming. Um, that said, I did have a good time. There were a few times where I actually laughed out loud, but not nearly as many times as Hard Eyes. Um, I also think that I there's something about Ariana DeBose that I love her in some stuff, and some stuff I'm just like, I don't think this is right. I don't think that this is her, and this is one of those things where I wasn't getting much chemistry between those two.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's because King Quan was playing what we want him to be, like that affable kind of guy with the Jackie Chan on the inside. Um, and I wasn't surprised at all, like what a good fight movie this was, because that's what he did for the last 30 years was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fight choreography and things like that. That being said, I the chemistry between those two wasn't wasn't there, and I think it's because there's the age difference, and that's one of the things that I just kept going back to as I was watching. I was like, why couldn't she be 10, 15 years older.
Yeah.
You know, an actor older, because she's great in a lot of things. This just was not her thing. Um, Leo Tipton, I liked a lot. She played Ashley, his assistant. Um, and I thought they had more chemistry in the very few scenes that they had to like one on one together.
Hmm.
Um, it's still, I mean, she still would be way too young for him, but she had more chemistry with him than Ariana DeBose did. And I don't know if, a character like Rose doesn't seem like she should be in her 20s. She's somebody who should be in her 40s. Um, that was something that really got me. Also, the trying to make all the mobsters um, quirky and like every other action movie in the last 10 years, where they've got to have some sort of running gag with them. Each one of them had, it seemed like something different and a type that
Hmm.
was supposed to be a set piece. Like each individual one was supposed to have been a set piece. Like Reese Darby as Kippy.
Yeah.
I thought, he was supposed to be like, we're supposed to know him from somewhere, from another, show or something, almost, because he was just dropped in there and he was just this stereotype, not a character.
Yeah,
Um,
and there seems to have been a weird edit on this somewhere, like a subplot was removed or something, because there's a mention of baseball, and it does come back around at the end that there is a baseball bat, and the brothers are in a picture in a baseball uniform, but that never came up prior to that. But it gets dropped
yeah,
by Sean Astin's character. I never knew he played baseball. Like, where did that come from? What is this about? Like, it was
yeah,
the weird thing to drop in because it had not been set up in any way for that to
and
come up.
yeah. It seemed like there should have been there was a flashback or something to
Yeah.
them where maybe Marvin was talking about Knuckles as a kid, and like maybe he got his Knuckles name from being like throwing knuckleballs or something. I don't know. But it did
Hmm.
seem like there was something it was like Occam's baseball bat, but they forgot to show it the first time. So
Meanwhile, they spend all this time establishing the straw, which, what a weird weekend for metal straws to be the star of two different movies. We'll get to that, but
yeah,
um,
I
Quanti's
really
just
thought.
go ahead.
I was to say the Sean Astin scene with him and Knuckles, that was really like it also seemed kind of out of place,
Hmm.
because there was, you're supposed to really, the history that Sean Astin has with Ki Quan from Goonies, they should have walked off into the sunset together. And the fact that they don't, I was like, wow, that's really kind of brutal,
Yeah,
And
there are
it's supposed
occasions
to
when the
give
movie
you,
is like it is more like obviously it's a very violent movie. There are a lot of fight scenes and a lot of death, but at times it feels like it's holding back, and then suddenly you've got a scene where somebody gets a hole blown through their head and you're staring at them. Again, that also happens in the other movie we're talking about this week, which
yeah,
again is a weird thing. But like it wants to be ultraviolet, but then it also doesn't want to be ultraviolet in some ways. So it's kind of strange. The tone is a little bit weird, trying to figure out exactly where they want to land between R rated and super R rated.
yeah,
Yeah, the Sean Astin thing, like when he comes back after the first scene, I mean, the first scene seems to set up a broad character who's kind of, the clueless boss who's kind of going to be, who's going to be like a needless obstacle. Like, oh, he wants to see me in his office. And that immediately, like,
mm-hmm.
you think of a dozen other movies where if the boss wants to see you in the office, something's happened and you're going to have to solve that in the midst of the thing that you're actually supposed to be doing, which is defending your life or whatever the fuck it is that he's doing. Then they just have him give him this award, which, yes, the award was an interesting, character beat for that character. He definitely makes use of that later. But at the same time, like, it doesn't actually set up the Sean Astin character to matter beyond that. And so when he comes, he has this kind of deep scene with Knuckles. First of all, Knuckles isn't very well established by this point, other than the fact we know he's his brother and he's kind of a dangerous guy, but he's not particularly well established. And these two characters are having this very like it's a good scene in terms of acting and the back and forth. They've got a good chemistry going, but the movie hasn't earned any of that by establishing them as important characters. We've not seen much of them leading up to this, and then they have this big scene together. Sean Astin gets killed, and you're not really feeling it that deeply.
Yeah. I feel like, so just thinking about it just now, I'm thinking like if you had established everybody at the beginning, um, like I read your review of Hard Eyes, which we'll talk about, and you were the first part, spoiler alert, you were a little felt it was a little unnecessary. I didn't, but that's a whole different thing. But there should have been a prologue like that in this,
Mhm.
where we see Knuckles telling Marvin, you have to go and get rid of um uh Rose. And he's like, okay, yeah, you're right. She's gotta die. And he takes her out into the desert. He's got a hole dug, and he's like, all right, and he's got a gun or something. And then he like I can actually see it where he's like, I don't want to do this, but I have to because my brother runs everything and sets it all up,
Mhm.
like sets up his past. And then, you hear the gunshot as it like cuts to black and it says love hurts. And then you open up 5 years later or whatever, and he's a real estate agent, and you think that he's killed Rose and that's going to be his big secret or something like that. I just made the movie 10 times better. Um, in my eyes, but again, I
Yeah,
didn't, I
I
didn't hate
don't
this movie. I
disagree.
really liked a lot of it.
I,
Um,
I like it too, but like the movie spent a little too much time on of her markering his face on his little
yeah.
billboards and whatnot, like putting little mustaches on him, and it's like,
Mhm.
who is this character, and why is this like something important that she needs to do? I mean, she doesn't even hate this character. She's not even mad at him. She's mad at everybody else. So why
Yeah.
is she taking it out on his little billboards and whatnot? That just did, and it wasn't particularly funny. Like like
Yeah.
it did, just, but
Well, I mean, this
it,
movie was really short. It was an hour and 23 minutes with credits, and
mhm,
a 5 minute establishing scene like that would not have hurt it. Me, I'm always like, I want movies to be
yeah.
shorter. I want movies to be shorter. I could have used a 10-minute intro to all of these characters before we get to the point where he's on the phone with Ashley. Um, at the beginning of the movie. I that's also I have to say this. I missed the first 2 minutes of this movie the first time I went to see it because, and this is a little bit of a rant and it has nothing to do with the movie, but if you have assigned seating in your theater and it's an empty showing and one person has a seat, why the fuck do you get your seats right next to that person in an empty theater? What the fuck?
Because you're
Sorry. Okay.
lonely.
Well, there is okay. So our Cinemark. Now this was a couple. I've never seen them before, but they were just
Yeah.
and they were spread out over like 6 seats with all their
Mhm.
stuff. And one of those seats was mine. And this lady who could have bought 2 seats bought one and was spilling over into my seat, and all her stuff was on my. And I'm like, I'm just coming back later in the day. Um, but there is one guy, and I don't know I don't know if you ever go to like the first showing of a movie during the day. That's what I tend to go because of my schedule. One old dude always, when I'm like, I can be the only person who has bought a ticket, like, because I buy it at 4 in the morning when I'm at work. If I buy a ticket and it's an empty theater, I go in and I don't tend to check and see if anybody has bought, how many people are there until I get there. There's one guy, he's done this 3 times where he gets a seat like 1 or 2 seats away from mine. Because I think what is going on is the fact that he thinks maybe it's a single woman and he wants to
Oh.
strike up a conversation and be that guy. This guy's like in his late 70s though.
Mhm.
And this has happened more than once, so I know that it's like something he's doing. And I actually talked to the lady at the desk when I was switching my ticket to a later show. Um, I was like, I said, so if you see an old guy comes in and he's picking his ticket you know who I'm talking about. And she laughed. She's like, what? We really do. I'm like, yeah, I'm not, I don't think I'm the only person that he has done that to. So anyway, sorry, I went off on that rant in the middle of our
No,
review,
no.
but
I,
uh, I
I,
feel like I had
I
to pad
this
it.
movie, no, this movie was a little longer for me because I got interrupted by an alarm. They shut down the theater with like 20 minutes left in the movie.
Uh,
And I honestly, for a minute, like I've never had this happen at the theater. Like I've gone to this theater for over its entire existence, 25 years. I've never had it happen where they had the alarms go off, the lights come on, the movie shuts off, and they tell you to proceed to the most immediate exit. I immediately jumped to just the worst case scenario because I didn't smell smoke. I'm like, if there's no smoke, something else is going on. I feel
yeah,
like I got out. I hit the door real quick. I was shocked though by the number of people who are just like they're just walking back into the theater while the alarm is still going on. And I'm like, what are you people doing? Like, what if this was an active shooter situation? What do you? Because
this is
my
why
head went right to there,
this
right
is
to
why
because
we are where we're at as a country, Sean, because of people like that. What do I do? I don't know. I need somebody to tell me what to do.
I want
I need
my
a big,
money back. I
I
want to
need,
finish the movie. And it's like,
I
dude,
need a big,
there's an alarm going off. There's no smoke. I
yeah,
mean, the other option, then, if there's no smoke, there must be something else going on.
yeah,
It was a false alarm, but it could have been the other thing.
yeah.
I had the most. I had a long drive on Monday, coming back from Des Moines, seeing friends and the Super Bowl, and I had just the weirdest thought because I was alone in my car and the podcast I was listening to wasn't interesting enough. So I started thinking to myself,
Was it ours?
no, no, but the I just thought that like literally everyone you see on a daily basis, whether they know it or not, has made a decision not to kill you. Because they could decide to kill you. They could. Any person you see could just decide, like, I'm going to kill that guy. Subconsciously, they've made a decision not to do it.
Are like
And
you
you
mean
and I
like
do too.
four-year-olds?
Every day, you and I decide not to kill anyone.
Look, you and I both watch enough true crime and listen to enough true crime that we could make somebody disappear. And
I'm saying, but I
I
just
am
find
too
that,
fucking tired and lazy and old to do that at this point. 10 years ago, I probably could have done it.
but it's the thin line, right? It's a thin
Mhm.
line between like life and death, really, when you think about it, because anyone could just decide, I'm okay with the consequences of killing another person. I'm just going to go do it.
Yeah. Well, I
That's
think
kind of a miracle considering the number of people you see during the day. I
I
kind of want to just kind of admire that for a moment.
I genuinely want to believe that most people deep down are good people and wouldn't even have that thought. Not that I'm saying you're a bad person because you had that thought, but I'm talking about the thought of actually killing somebody.
Mhm.
However, people like my sister and her road rage make me wonder.
Like
My
you're not
sister has
allowed.
incredibly bad road rage, like me.
Yeah,
So,
you're not allowed to drive on the wrong side of the road. That doesn't mean you can't physically do it. You can absolutely do it. If you're willing
yeah,
to accept the consequences of having done it, which is potentially your death and somebody else's, you can still decide to do it.
yeah. I mean, there's
Kind of miraculous when you think about
that saying you never, be kind to everybody because you never know what kind of day they're having. I say be kind to people because you never know how close they are to killing another person.
it. If social media has taught us anything.
I'm not very kind on social media anymore. I don't care. Um, no,
Yeah.
I don't believe that there are, big pockets of um like an Asian mafia in Wisconsin, but there could be.
Yeah, that anything is possible. I'm merely just saying that you don't consciously think of not killing somebody. but in the back of your head, you have made a decision, whether you know it or not, to not do it.
Yeah.
Whether you realize you did or not, doesn't matter. You decided not to drive down the wrong side of the road. You decided not to get a gun and start shooting people. You make that decision every single day, whether you know it or not. Subconsciously, you've made that decision. It's funny. Uh, so this movie, the other movie that kind of takes away from this for me is Nobody. Remember the Bob Odenkirk movie? Because like this idea of like and we're kind of seeing it's kind of coming a minor trope where like the idea is this guy looks like the mild mannered man next door, but he's secretly like a guy who could kill anybody at any moment with his massive skill set. And I do think that this movie kind of is at a disadvantage because that trope is kind of getting a little bit of play. Nobody 2 is going to come out, and I think we're going to we've seen this before. We're going to keep seeing it, and I don't know if this is necessarily the best version of that.
Yeah, I don't remember Nobody. I mean, I don't think I saw it. I think that was one of the weeks where Bob was still here and I didn't have to see everything because you guys could
It
talk
was a
about it.
pandemic movie. It was like your early
Oh.
pandemic movie. Bob Odenkirk plays a guy
Oh,
just like
okay.
Huey Quan.
That's right.
He gets out of whatever line of work in the CIA and finds a regular everyday life, and it just happens to be that he's secretly like the most dangerous secret agent in the world.
Yeah, now I remember.
But you've seen that trope, like the
Oh,
mild-mannered
mild
teacher who
mannered, yeah.
yeah, like everybody's Breaking Bad, you know.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. That kind of, yeah.
And I just don't know if this is necessarily the best version of that growing trope.
Yeah.
But that's
I mean,
I like it
I
enough because
yes.
Quan is just so charming. He's so good that I want good things for him, and I'm rooting for him. I didn't buy the romance. That aspect didn't work for me. I thought the assistant character was very funny, and I found her romance with the guy trying to kill him was kind of charming. At the
Yeah,
same time, there was not that plot should have been played out like right then and been done with it. Like they should have just left that back at the office. They didn't need it anymore after that. And more time should have been, if you're going to give Sean Astin that big scene with Knuckles, you should have spent more time developing him
with
as a
him.
character so
Yeah.
that mattered.
Yeah, I agree with that. I liked it. I didn't love it. I want good things for him because like you said, he deserves it. He's so humble and loves the fact that he's doing this. Whereas, it just I don't know. I listened to him on Mark Maron and then I watched it, not me getting emotional at the end of this movie going, oh, but I just, give him Michelle Yeoh again. They were a great couple, age appropriate. If it had been her,
Mhm.
that would have been like, or somebody, like her, totally would have gone with it. Even Jennifer Lopez, she can act. If it had been somebody like her who is older and a little more, do not at me when I say Jennifer Lopez has more gravitas than Ariana DeBose, but you know what I mean. She's been around longer, etc.
Right.
But somebody who's got a little more established past, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, that I could have gotten a little more behind instead of Ariana DeBose, who I love, but was too young for him in this movie.
And also, I mean, she could have benefited from a better screenplay that, gave her
Oh yeah,
character
yeah.
more meaning and a little bit more consistency. Uh, they, they want her to be, this agent of chaos, but then we're not spending time with her. We're spending time with him. He's the main character. We're following him. So all the fun chaos that she may or may not be causing, we're not seeing any of that. You keep
Right.
telling us about the chaos she's causing. We don't see it. It doesn't matter to us.
Again, that scene at the beginning that they should have had where, he and Knuckles are still close and he's telling them, okay, she's done this to me and this to me, this to me, she stole from me. All of this stuff could have been way beneficial to the fact, like why she's, why she's so much younger and that she's really, really good at what she does, and she's been that way,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just
She
she was
she
born
is
in
a
19. She's 20 years younger than him,
yeah.
and it
And she's just
shows.
she's also just kind of coasting at the moment. I mean, from from her role in Craven the Hunter and now this, she's just not. I don't think I think she's seeing the scripts that she's getting, and she's just like, I gotta work on something. I guess I'll do this, because she's not getting. Either she's got terrible taste in scripts, or she's just like, I need to do something. I guess I'll do this.
Yeah,
They want me to. They're putting me with another Oscar winner. That's a good. That should be okay, I guess.
they needed a better script for those two.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
she
as simple as that, is what it comes
so
down to.
we like we're going on too long about this movie probably, but like they do a big reveal of Knuckles as if the audience is going to go, "Oh, it's that guy."
Yeah,
I don't know who this guy is. I'm sorry. He may be some big international star. I don't know. I apologize. I just don't know who this actor is. I'm not familiar with him. His face, it does not immediately jump to my mind. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Um, but the movie treats it like a reveal. Like we're walking into the room, and we're going to meet Knuckles, and this is a big deal, and it really wasn't. Whereas her character should have been the one to get a big reveal.
yeah,
Like set up the thing, and then she comes back later, you know, dressed to the nines, ready to cause chaos. Like, oh shit, she's not dead, she's here, and it's a
yeah.
big reveal. She's back. She's the one who's been sending these Valentine messages. Oh my god! But we all thought she was dead.
Well, there's like
That should
there's no misdirection whatsoever on any of
be
this
done.
stuff, and there should have been. So I
Why was
talked
she the
myself
first
out of
character
liking
we
it.
saw? Yeah. Why was she even the first character we saw in the movie? That was just not necessary and did nothing to set up the rest of the film.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Hard Eyes, which is, I think, a slightly better movie. Um,
Mhm.
it's a marriage of the horror of the slasher film and the romantic comedy, directed by Josh Rubin, who made a pretty terrific little horror film that not a lot of people got to see. Werewolves, uh, werewolf something or other. Anyway,
Within.
werewolves, good, which is I like that movie. Um, the idea here is that you've got this romantic comedy premise with Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding meeting cute at a coffee bar, and then finding out that they're going to be work rivals, and working out their romantic relationship. Meanwhile, there's this thing that's been happening the past couple of Valentine's days where there's this killer, the Hard Eyes killer, has been going around targeting couples and killing them on Valentine's Day, and killing anybody who gets between them and the couples they're trying to kill on Valentine's Day. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Nobody really knows much about the Hard
Mhm.
Eyes killer. They just know that that the killer is now in their town, and maybe people should be staying home that night. But Mason Gooding and Olivia Holt do decide to go out. I found a lot of inconsistencies and forced aspects of that. Like, they both are aware of this killer, yet they're still going to go out on Valentine's night, even though they know they're not a couple, and they figure when they're safe, they're still acting like a couple going out to romantic dinner. Like, it seemed kind
Yeah.
of illogical. But I really just the movie got off to a bad start with that opening sequence that's supposed to establish the Hard Eyes killer. I found it just obnoxious. The humor doesn't land. Uh, I the use of that song, I swear, but I think it's John. I swear by John Michael Montgomery. Just like
Yeah.
it just hit the hand so hard about what they're trying to do. Oh, look at these two douchebags. Let's watch them get killed. Like, right
Well,
now, I'm watching a
the
fucking Scream movie. Great, cool. All right.
the reason I enjoyed that sequence was because it was a trope, and because it was, and I know the killing an Instagram influencer kind of person is played out a little bit, but I did enjoy the fact that everything had to be perfect, and then it wasn't, and then could you do this again? It was fun. I didn't hate it the way you seem to. I thought that,
There's no
yeah, I know
subversion. Where's the subversion? That's not a
I know
subversion.
too many people
Creating
like that.
characters, right? But creating characters that we hate, that we want, like, inviting us to enjoy watching them die. That's like the oldest. That's early 2000s horror. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's like the lamest early 2000s horror you can get, where you just invent these characters who are just completely unlikable. Or you're supposed to I guess we're supposed to enjoy them dying, but then does that mean we're supposed to enjoy the other characters dying? Are they also shitty? Like it's a rough way to start when you're trying to establish a movie as both a romantic comedy and a slasher film.
I yes. One thing I would have like I have to kind of not really spoil it, but there some of my thoughts about stuff that happens later in the movie. How do we know that it's the hard eyes killer? Because if he's killed all these people, how do they know that he has a hard eye mask? Um, and I thought that something that could have been fun with the terrible influencer at the beginning, if she had survived, and oh my god, this mask, and he had hard eyes, and da 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 da, and that they hadn't been ones that had just been killed the same day. If that had been
Mhm.
like one of the first ones, the first hard eyes tried to get somebody who escaped and then maybe came back later and was like, you guys are, you're in danger. I've been tracking down this hard eyes killer since they tried to kill me and whatever. That's how I think they could have subverted it a little bit. You think that maybe that this girl died, but she actually comes back later.
She certainly does not. It's supposed to be
Could have been,
very funny. The little pieces of her that they're picking up is supposed to be funny and offhand, and that scene also is not particularly
yeah.
funny.
But I thought
But
that could have been, it could have been a good way to subvert what we expected.
to give the movie a little bit of credit, they did establish that people had accidentally taken pictures of him to get that mask to know that he
Yeah.
had the mask. So it was known, and thus why he was called the Hard Eyes Killer.
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, he was in. They actually had his picture in the newspaper. It was blurry, but I got it.
Mm.
So yeah, Mason Gooding is the best part of this movie. This guy, I wish they would have let him be funny. Let this man be funny. They kept getting in the way of him being funny. He had moments where he was just about to kind of lead into something, and the guy was just giving me like Will Smith in Hitch vibes, which I just wrote about Hitch because it just turned 20 last week, and I was really getting a strong like early days Will Smith vibe with that charm and that fast wit. He was really giving it. And I was really bummed that we kept like having to cut away from him. It's like I wanted to see him. I wanted to see him run a little bit.
I I have resisted Mason Gooding since the first Scream movie he was in because I thought that
Mhm.
he was very forced
Yeah.
in those movies. Um, I have succumbed to his charms after seeing this movie. Um, I liked the chemistry between him and Olivia Holt as Allie. I wish we'd gotten a little more Monica. Monica is like who could have played Ariana DeBose younger. You know what I mean? In Love Hurts. I kept thinking, God, she looks so. Is that Ariana DeBose? Because she looks so much like her. She just like reminds me of her so much. It was distracting a little bit. But Mason Gooding, like you said, the best part of this movie, his charm, his kind of wit that kept getting cut off because but he was like all his funny parts were the funniest parts of the movie. And I
Mhm.
somebody asked me about this and I said it's a rom-com but with gore. It's not, I think it's marketed as a horror movie, but it's really more of a Hallmark kind of slasher movie.
And there's a
So,
lot of potential there. And I think what this movie needed was Jessica Roth. Like, if you'd had Jessica Roth in that role opposite Mason Gooding, this movie is like 50,000 times better. Like, Jessica Roth, because if you saw the Happy Death Day movies, you know that she gets this. She understands the vibe of how to bring horror and comedy together. Happy Death Day 1 and 2 are both funny, and they're funny because of her and the way Christopher Landon sets her up to just let her run,
mhm.
to get out of her way and let her do her thing. Um, and I don't think Julia Holt has that. She's not a bad actress, but she doesn't have the it factor that a Jessica Roth has. She doesn't have the timing. She doesn't. She's very much like she kind of feels like she is a Hallmark character a little bit too much. And I think she was kind of outclassed by Mason Gooding in a lot of scenes. I don't think she was necessarily capable of keeping up with him well. I would have liked to have
Yeah.
seen a different actress in that role. I think the movie would have worked better for me. I think the movie works. I think I like the idea. I like the premise. I just don't think in full execution it's quite as good as it could be. Like if actually Christopher Landon, who is credited on the screenplay of this, if he had directed this, with maybe a different star, or maybe just with him, maybe making a star. Uh, he helped Jessica
Yeah.
Roth a lot. Um, I think maybe that would have worked better. I think this movie is just a little bit, it can't quite commit to the full premise and really get the most out of the premise. And I think a lot of this just comes down to it being a really good premise, just not quite there.
I wouldn't have minded. I genuinely like Olivia Holt in this role. But I wouldn't have minded if it had been Gigi Zimbato and her switching parts.
Mm.
Um, Gigi Zimbato, she just had something. I haven't seen her a lot, but she really just had this spark, and she had all the best lines in the movie about her sugar daddy. Um, so I don't know. I playing with it a little bit might have done that. Jessica Roth is 37, and Mason Gooding is 28, so they would have had to write that somewhere in there, because even Happy Death Day to You, she was like, okay, she's not a college student, but it could be a Stockard Channing in Grease kind of thing. Um,
I didn't even notice because she was incredible.
oh no, I love her. I love both of those movies so much. I think that the fact that they went from a horror movie to a sci-fi movie for the sequel and didn't call it out until you were like, oh, this is like the sci-fi sequel to that. you know I thought that was like, those are two, it's like such a good sequel and two brilliant movies
Mhm.
that, yeah, I mean, I could, if it had been her and Christopher Landon coming back to do this, I wouldn't have cared. um I this is another movie, could have been about 10 minutes longer. I think maybe, what if they set it up. I'm rewriting these movies every time, I guess. Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding are supposed to be the couple you're rooting for, but Jessica Roth, who is older, comes in and she's playing her boss. She's playing Crystal Kane, and halfway through they subvert everything, and Olivia or Ellie gets killed, and it's her and Jessica Roth for like the last three quarters of the movie. I don't know, just maybe, I don't know. Did a little Marion Crane with her. Who knows? Um, that would have been a way to do it. I,
Maybe I
I
just
I
yeah.
really liked this. I'd laughed throughout. Um,
Mhm.
it had me up until the last 10 minutes of the movie, because the first of all, the um one of the killers. I'm just gonna say. I mean, there's
Mhm.
if you're listening to this, you know that we spoil the shit out of shit. Um, one of the killers is so obviously the killer that I was, as soon as he was on screen, I'm like, oh, he's the killer. I was like, oh, he's he introduces himself. Oh, hi, I'm David. I'm like, oh, hi, I'm the killer. That's what he should have said. Um, so I was not surprised at all. I was a little surprised by the other one, but not enough to. By then, I was like, I yeah, I don't. There's got to be two killers because of Scream, and that's what they're kind of going for. Um, so sure, but everybody in my theater laughed when they said, "No, we're a throuple." Oh my god, you're a couple? No, we're a throuple. So I was a little surprised that they would throw that in there, but I guess not as surprised
there
as
are
I
a
should
lot.
be. But
There are a lot of promising elements to this. I just don't think it comes together. I wanted more Mason Gooding, and I wanted the details to matter more. And I don't feel like this is a movie that paid enough attention to the detail. I think they're so busy making up Hobbs and Shaw jokes that that they didn't necessarily care that there was no possible way that any of them knew where these characters were going to be at any moment. like
yeah,
sorry, but there's no possible way that either one of the killers could have been in her closet. They had no way of knowing that.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. There was no time for them to know it. None of that. And attention to detail like that. Like again, Happy Death Day. I keep coming back to it. That movie's got a lot of attention to detail. There are a lot of little things in there that
Hmm.
that come back around and pay off later.
Yeah.
Like because the details mattered, and I don't think this movie cares about the details. It just wants to play it. We've got this premise, and the premise is good, and then we'll just throw in a bunch of really cool deaths, and hopefully people will laugh.
Yeah, I think when you said about the details, it reminded me of Happy Death Day to You, where they had to retcon everything to fit
Mm-hmm.
into what happened in the spaces between in the first one. The same with
Yeah.
like Insidious 2. Uh, Never supposed to be a sequel to that, but the way they retconned everything into there worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, they didn't, there's not enough in here where they set it up. It has to make sense. And we will talk about our classic in a minute, Valentine, which we already talked about a little last week, where I said we were going to do it. So nobody's going to be surprised when I do it. But when they reveal the killer in that, they it always makes sense whether you like that movie or not. But it
Mm-hmm.
always there's no way it couldn't. There's no kind of red herrings thrown around like there are in here. And yes, there could have been. The logic doesn't make sense, even if they get the letter of the law down as far as where people are. But it
Yeah.
does not make sense that he's in her apartment. There's
No.
just no.
There's just little things like that happen
Yeah.
throughout the movie that just some of that didn't work for me. It worked enough. I don't dislike this movie. In
Mhm.
fact, I would recommend this movie because Omar Gooding is so good, and I want to see more of him.
No,
And
it was
also,
Nathan.
just to say this, that his character should in Scream should be dead, and the fact that his
Yeah.
character is dead ruins that entire movie. It ruins the entire movie. I love that character. I wish it hadn't happened, but he was stabbed 42 times. There's just no, I mean, unless this
Yeah.
universe has no rules, he's dead.
Yeah.
Spoiler
There's
alert
no
for whatever Scream movie that is. It
that's
ruins the entire movie, the
yeah.
fact that he walks out at the end because he was stabbed 42 times. He's just gone.
Well, and that's one of the things that I hated about Scream 5 is everybody survives. There's no, I think they thought he was like Dewey in the first Scream, where they liked
Uh-huh.
him so much that they had to, let him live. I He should have been dead. And I say that, like Chad was fun, but you know, it, it ruined part 5 for me. So
And even Dewey's injuries, I think, were at least a little bit more believably survivable. But you can't
he got stabbed
you
once
cannot,
in the back and some,
yeah,
like
you cannot be stabbed 42 times and walk away.
yeah,
It doesn't work like that. The man had no
yeah.
blood left in his body, is what I'm saying. And it means that this is the Scream universe is now a supernatural film, and that's it. It's Scream Supernatural confirmed. That should be the big twist of the next Scream is that no one can die. Matthew Lillard's character is actually back from the dead because actually no one can die in this universe, and that's the twist is that everybody is actually still alive. Everybody just keeps stabbing each other, but no one can die.
Yeah, yeah. I The only good thing to me, like looking back, the only really, really good thing about Scream 5 was the fact that they killed Dewey. Finally. Um, there was nowhere else to go with this character after, So yeah, kill him. That being said, Chad should have died. There should have been no Mason Gooding in Scream 6. There should have been um Mindy should have died in Scream 6. Start off with almost a whole new cast in Scream 7, which apparently they're doing because nobody's coming back for it except for Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox. But
Well, and somehow Matthew Lillard's coming back. We don't know how that's going to
I,
work, but
I think I have an idea. because he and
Is
Scott
he,
Foley
is,
are both. No, I don't. I think that they're going to just be voices on the voice changer. I don't think they're going to actually be in the movie. I think they're going to just be the voices because both of them are very dead. Um, so
that's great wishful thinking, but remembering what they did with Skeet Ulrich makes me think they're going to go somewhere much, much stupider than that. Which, by the way, that's the other element I should be mad about it. It's supernatural because that was really stupid as well.
yeah, agreed.
Anyway, that was our classic Scream. Let's bye, Jeff. That's a good show. Good to see you.
Yeah, nice try, fucker.
All right, it's time for the classic. I use that term extraordinarily loosely.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Valentine from 2001, from the director of Urban Legends, which tells you a lot. Jamie Blanks. A group of childhood friends are gathered together to be killed by the kid who was bullied by people who weren't them. They just said no to him at a dance. So he comes back to kill them instead of the people who bullied him. Because it makes sense. If the girls had said yes to me, the guys wouldn't have bullied me, I guess is the thought
Uh-huh.
process. Um, you got an interesting cast, Denise Richards, Jessica Capshaw, you got Katherine Heigl for a minute. David Boreanaz is, of course, the very, very obvious killer. Um,
Well,
and really,
did you ever hear the story about when they announced his casting?
no.
It was they were talking about the movie, whatever, and they said in Variety that, or the Hollywood Reporter, one of the two, that David Boreanaz has joined the cast of Valentine as the killer before they'd even shot a frame. He
Yeah.
was, because I'm going to tell you, I don't hate this movie. It's one of those ones, but I never actually, after the first time that I watched it, sit down and watch it. I always play
Mhm.
it around Valentine's Day. It's always in the background. I only picked it as a classic because you were talking about it that way. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make you watch it. Um, and it's not a good movie. It has some good
It's not.
performances. There is some funny stuff in it. I read the book during COVID quarantine, and it was not good.
Hmm.
They should have just used the title. It was as bad as
I thought they
this.
did. I thought they just bought it for the title.
There's some, there's a few elements in it, but I like almost everybody in the cast. I
Mhm.
thought to give it a few, like kudos. I hate that word, by the way. Why did I just say that? But to give it its due, um, the the cast of kids who plays, just for a few seconds, each of the adults. The Denise Richards character, Paige, young Paige, looks so much like Denise Richards. I was still to this day, I'm like, how are they related? Um, the performances by the adults are good. There are some funny lines, like when Denise Richards comes back to Marley Shelton's apartment, and she's like, Detective whatever is a disgusting pig. He put his hand on my thigh. Did you ask him to? I laughed. I still laugh at that. But it's so rote, and there's not enough interesting stuff in it to make
Mhm.
it a classic. Um, the mask looks great. Um, they literally, like I said, I just watched the commentary because I've never watched the commentary, and I've seen the movie enough times that they took the nosebleed thing from the movie Alone in the Dark, which was the movie that Jack Shoulder did before Nightmare on Elm Street 2. They were like, we need something like that so that we'll have a through line for the killer.
So
And
we'll just do that.
well, they kept Jamie Blanks, who used to follow me
Mhm.
on Twitter, and I miss that, I miss some of these people on Twitter, but he goes, we were in a room as we were kind of rewriting the script, and we're thinking, what could we do that's like that would give us, like a through line, and nobody could come up with anything. He's like, I guess we're just going to steal that idea. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I, it's so like obvious that David Boreanaz is the killer that at the end when he, dresses up Jessica Capshaw as the
Dorothy.
killer and throws her down the stairs. I I was like, wait, why are they red herring this? What? Well, how is she the killer? There's no way. And then I'm like, oh yeah. Then his nose starts to bleed, and it's not good. It's not.
No.
There are good elements to it, but it's so rote that it's not. It's not really worth watching every year for Valentine's Day. My Bloody Valentine from 1981 is much better, even though after the reveal of the killer, you can't ever go back and watch it again for the first time.
So true. I actually like the remake as well of Happy Death, but
Oh yeah, My
uh,
Bloody Valentine. You mean?
I believe Valentine. I thought that was a good movie, but no, I think this movie is really dopey. Really dopey. They do a lot. They have a lot of different red herring characters. Like maybe this guy
Uh
could
huh.
be him, or maybe. But they've casted people that nobody has any idea who they are, and they don't invest any time or care into delineating them. There's like three guys who look pretty much exactly the same in the movie. I couldn't tell them apart. They were just all these just like square jawed, brown haired, jacked guys. That, like,
Mhm.
which one are you again? I don't remember. Uh, but they
Well,
maybe could be the killer. Who knows?
mhm. Do you
And
know?
it's
And I just found this. The first time I ever listened to the commentary was last night.
mhm.
The Jamie Blanks' original idea was to reveal that David Boreanaz was the killer early on, so that you see him getting close to everybody, and it was less slasher mystery. But the studio was like, no, we want a slasher mystery, so you got to introduce all these other characters. And um, his thing was going to be dating his way through this group that rejected him at the dance and killing them off. But we know it's him the whole time. They don't have any idea, which I thought was a
Mhm.
much more interesting concept.
Yeah, maybe. I could be, and a lot of things would be more interesting than what they did in this movie. That's for sure. Like I don't even think the kills are particularly interesting in this movie.
Yeah.
I yeah, the weird killing of the weird way they put down Denise Richards was bizarre. I mean, pick one, pick one of the four ways you tried to kill her and do that. Instead, no, let's do them all. We'll do a drill and we'll lock her in a thing and we'll try and cook her alive, but we're also going to try and drown her. But then we're going to electrocute her. Just make up your mind. Pick one.
Yeah. I mean,
Pick one and
it
go.
was very obvious that they put her in the hot tub because she said the little girl character of her said, "I'd rather be boiled alive."
Yeah.
Just do that. Just do that. They did it in Halloween too, where they, you know,
Much, much more effectively. And I don't even like that movie.
but yeah, I mean, there's a few like that. The sequence in the art installation where I can't even remember her name off the top of my head, gets the arrow through the heart and falls into the trash.
Marley Shelton.
That No, that Marley Shelton is the lead.
Oh, is she?
Not
I can't
Is
remember.
it
They all look the
Jessica
same,
Caulfield, I think is
perhaps.
yeah, Lily. She's the one who gets the arrow through her heart and she falls back over the railing into the garbage. It was nice to see Katherine Heigl die. Um, Not a Katherine Heigl fan. Um, Again, great cast. Hetty Barres. She's I like her. I think she's funny, but just not enough. They want so many people to die and have a huge body count that it's they could have had a much better, tighter sort of movie.
Yeah. There's also like that push pull that happened about that around that time where you're trying to push and pull between PG-13 horror and R-rated
Mm-hmm.
horror, and we can do this much blood, but not that much blood. And pull it back here, but then give it all here. And it's like, oh my God, just pick a lane already, you fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of studio interference. I'm sure there could be a good movie here, but I don't know. I also hated Urban Legends. I thought that movie was awful as well. Nothing against Stevie Blank. I'm sure he's a nice person, but I didn't care for that movie either. I think, and I find both of them to be part of that trend of creating unlikable characters that you don't mind seeing die. Not
Yeah.
nearly as bad as it would get, obviously, with the Halloween movies where they're just basic and the Nightmare movies where they're like, aren't these people shitty? Don't you want to see Jason and Freddy destroy them? No,
Yeah.
I don't really enjoy that, actually. It's not actually a thing where I enjoy watching terrible people die, even if they are terrible people.
Well, I like most of the actors in this. I think that there are some interesting pieces in the commentary. Um, but I really, I, you know me and like holiday horror. I love holiday horror, and I usually throw something on.
I,
Um,
kn- I know how many times you've seen Arbor Day. Like, I know.
oh yes, yes, yeah. But this is one that I don't know. After this year, I don't know if I'll watch it every year. It might just be one of those ones that I have it on my Voodoo. Maybe I'll just throw it on as my sleep movie. So
Maybe. Yeah, that's probably what it's worth. You know what this movie really missed out on, and what a lot of movies missed out on was casting Denise Richards as a killer because she would be an incredible like female version of a slasher villain. Like
yeah,
just the amount of cunty joy she would take in killing people in elaborate ways. She would have been amazing.
I agree. That would have been fun. Um, I just we need more stuff like Hard Eyes, where it's a little throws a little monkey wrench into what's going on. I did not like the denouement of Hard Eyes. I didn't like the reason or whatever, but
Mhm.
I I did appreciate the fact that it tried to do a romantic comedy, an actually funny romantic comedy, as opposed to just a slasher by the numbers, which is what Valentine is. Um, and Valentine, like I said, could have been a great movie. The mask is creepy, um, but just not a. It's like C tier slasher, and I know that this was the tail end of the '90s slasher, uh, first wave of the slasher renaissance after Scream, and I know what they're trying to get all the hot hip people, but just I don't know, just didn't doesn't land 25 years later.
It never landed for me. Period. The entirety of period. Other than Scream, all of the Scream wannabes. The movies that like all the movies that tried to be Tarantino movies. That was the same thing to me. Uh, just these knockoff like I know what you did last summer is shit. Um, that trash. This is in that Urban Legends is in that. Just this movies where the poster is going to be attractive people standing in lines,
Yes.
parallel lines, so you can see all of their faces.
Do you want me to
That,
completely ruin your night?
oh God,
I know what you did last summer legacy sequel.
oh, I know, I heard. Yeah,
Okay.
saw the trailer for Final Destination, the new sequel as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind those movies because it's not about anything but the Rube Goldberg of it all. But
Mhm.
and I actually liked the way they tied it up. It's in the last one. And I thought I didn't need another one. I could watch the first through this fifth or whatever. I don't need another one. I guess I'm going into it with an open mind though. But I did see the trailer in front of Hard Eyes, or part of it. So
Mm. All right. There's a lot of stuff next week, actually, if you know where to look. There's going to be a new movie on Apple TV called The Gorge with Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. Peacock has the new sequel to Bridget Jones with Renee Zellweger coming out on Thursday. And of course, Paddington in Peru is coming out this weekend. I'm probably not going to get to that one. I don't get paid to do the kids' movies anymore. So, and I'm the only critic who didn't like Paddington 2, apparently. Uh, apparently, the only human being on the planet who is immune to the charms of Paddington. Uh,
Well, I
I've
didn't see it, so
I've looked for other critics who didn't like Paddington 2, and apparently I am the Armand White of the Paddington 2 universe. um, so yeah, I'm not that one doesn't matter. But of course, the big one is Captain America, and we'll have to figure out a classic to go with that, or maybe just one of the other movies. But of course, that's on
um
you. You're in charge of the classics this year.
oh, okay. Good to know. Thinking a movie that I want to see that I don't know. Something I've I've never seen, maybe 3 Days of the Condor or something. I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll let you know. Follow us on our various social medias, and we will let you know what the classic will be. Jeff, thanks.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one.